All right. Good morning, folks. Yeah, technical difficulties. That's one way to explain it, I guess. I was having audio problems on the other stream. Looks like somebody bounced over here already. Cool, cool. Let me get, hopefully the word gets out. Let me get all this checked. Operator errors, like I call it, poison. But welcome this morning. Thanks for coming, folks. Thanks for finding the issues and jumping over here. So, I think I clicked when I should have right clicked or something. But what's up out there in the side chat? We got Meredith Mayhem. Welcome. Kevin Stoll. Good morning, sir. Flooding, you say. Yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like that rain we looked at yesterday is like parked and hasn't moved. If you look at the screen there, it's like hasn't had hardly any movement. You're just guys getting dumped on again from Dallas all the way up to Toronto. Rain, rain, and more rain. And yeah, it doesn't look like very much snow. So that's kind of bad unless obviously you get up into Canada there. Bad stuff if you don't have a boat or a moat or something like that to swallow all this up. But we got Poison Stinger out there with us. Thanks. Yeah, technical difficulties, operator error, whatever you want to call it. Irish USMC vet is with us. M. Long out there in Kentucky, getting rained on, I'm sure. Barry Wood, good morning. Right. Yeah, the flooding is pretty significant. Michigan's just getting pretty hammered. There was a video yesterday I saw from Shalisa Shell did one in her area and just water running through the neighborhood there. Okay, is that code words there, Irish? You're not sure where you're going to build your ark? You just build one. But whether you have to build an urban or a rural ark, get it done because this is not going anywhere soon. They're talking about more stuff coming your way after it leaves the west. It's snowing in Denver, and that's coming your way. So maybe it'll be a little colder. Maybe it'll not be as rain. Yeah. Espanol. I don't know why in Espanol. Oh, yeah. You've been traveling the interwebs all night, Irish, surveying the snowflakes, have you? Speaking of wrecks, we had a huge wreck out here last night. It's a sure sign that all these Californians have taken over. Can't drive on the road because the road is like, hey, just slow down a little bit. You'll be fine. We end up with a 30-car pileup. But that's what's coming, folks. It ain't looking much better. Des Moines. This is for your weekend, so all those outdoor plans you had better include boats or skis or snowshoes or something, it looks like. We still got snow on the ground here and supposed to clear up today, probably go away, but having snow for a whole day is an accomplishment this year. There you go, Stinger. It looks like you're going to be getting some snow right there in your hometown, too. You're probably getting more than us. Oh, yeah, lots of high water rescues, I'm sure, Irish. Lots of them. That looks like one of my videos there. I think somebody's been hacking my YouTube. Actually, that's Wadsworth. It's in Nevada, so it's out a little bit on the eastern side of the state. They got a lot more snow up there, out by Elko, that area. Wasn't my video though. So that's what everybody's got to look forward to. There's a lot of weather going on everywhere, so make your plans appropriately. Stay safe. So big topic. Well, maybe not so big because it's not even on the Drudge. I guess everybody hits it for 24-hour news stream and then rolls it out. But this story came out yesterday, furthering down the Florida shooting situation. I don't know. It's one of those things you want to put politely, I guess. But so the high school had a school resource officer who did nothing during the shooting. He's already resigned, which is good for him. But people need to send out the message that if you don't already possess the faculties and understand what you're put into, don't pick up a gun and say you're going to protect people. People need to, as what you would say, have their come to Jesus moment prior to having to put into that position. That's a failure of training and a failure of individual self-reflection to fail in that level of manner. It's not like he confronted the guy and just didn't shoot him. He didn't even go in the building. He sat out front and just didn't do anything. May shame forever. I mean, shame should fully envelop his life for the rest of his life. But if not, he's got other issues. I don't know how you live that down. Could have definitely saved a lot of people, probably. Saved a lot of heartache. But it just goes to show you, too, you can't rely on those always who say they're there to protect you. I don't even think they've released the officer's name. I haven't seen it. Oh, wait, Peterson? Oh, it does have his name. That's kind of surprising. Scott Peterson. Wait, who was Lacey Peterson's husband? That whole ordeal, wasn't that in Florida? Is Peterson really that common of a name? I guess so. So I guess the mission of the day would be to confront every armed officer that is assigned to a school and ask them directly, are you really prepared to do what you've been assigned to do? Are you going to be able to take care of business when it's necessary and act instead of cowering? Even if you just go in there and cause a distraction and know the guy knows you're behind him and pin him to one corner of the building is better than, maybe you don't have enough to pull the trigger, but dadgum, do something. And they don't have any pictures or anything. That's on CNBC. There was other stories out elsewhere in other places. It's coming from AP primarily here, but it baffles me. That I'm sure it baffles everybody. But there was actually people on the internet yesterday trying to defend this guy, saying he can't be expected to confront the shooter. It's crazy. It's like, no, it's his job to do that. He is. So that is going on. Let me bounce over here. And relating to this, on topic, I guess, but not what I would call a reasoned argument, I guess. But Zero Hedge has an article, 7 Reasons to Shut Down Public Schools. So I just like to say that there's a big difference between the school system we have now and the schools as they were established 150 years ago, 200 years ago, or whatever. This guy has some good things, about what the problems are in schools, like no obedience. They're taught obedience to what they're taught. They're not skill building. They're not teaching to think. Poor quality education, valuable time is wasted, etc. As most of you know, my kids don't go to school, public school, so for a lot of these reasons, we never touched the school. But in the bigger picture of community, schools can be a good thing, but schools have been co-opted by centralized government, and they're not controlled by the local school boards anymore. They're controlled by who funds them, and it's all funded pretty much from a federal level now. I would say eliminate federal funding and let local communities control their schools like they used to have those values, identify the skills they need, and maximize the time. The mandatory, 8-hour school day or whatever it was that now has to have so many hours dedicated to this subject and so many hours dedicated to some touchy-feely thing over here, but you got to keep them in between the walls of the school, and parents have no control over anything their kids do. That has to end, and that's mostly because the federal funds that got tied to it. So I would say that if you can remove those federal funding issues, you're going to have a lot better schools if your community takes charge of its school. But I would say it's up to the community to shut down your schools. If we just get the federal government out of the way, you may not have 50 million computers in there like they've continued to find a reason to get more federal funding for, but you'll still get an education. If you have to have all these computers to have an education, just homeschool. Just give everybody the money to homeschool. Or actually, I shouldn't say give everybody the money. Let everybody keep their taxes and let them homeschool. Oh, so it's kind of a backwards argument in some respects. Going back to the original issue, when you start with the little schoolhouse on the prairie type thing, well, then big federal government comes in and screws everything up. Where people were taught skills and just taught enough to be able to think and learn and not be a total imbecile when they go out into public or in society. But now they're teaching them, well, you have to go to college, you have to do this. They direct them in a certain way, not just a baseline. So I set the soapbox aside a little bit. But that's kind of my feelings on that. Back out in the side chat, Walter Davis has joined us. Good morning. Was it Jimmy Carter started the Department of Education, or was it Johnson? I thought it was before Carter. Okay, anyway. But it's the Department of Education's not been around too terribly long, but that federal funding took over. And because I know when they integrated schools was one of the big steps too, when they forced integration and busing and all these federal top-down driven issues. Oh, Poison's driving. You going into town or you heading back home? I think you're in the valley, you said, so maybe you're going somewhere. Chris Cook is with us. Good morning. How you doing? And that kind of catches us up with that. But definitely, this is going to make everybody think twice of having that armed officer in front of their school that they think is going to help. Well, now nobody trusts them. So it's a further degradation of the public trust, as it should be, because obviously they failed in so many different levels here in this Florida event that it's baffling that nobody's calling them out. And CNN, people are allowing CNN and all these other big letter agencies get away with getting around the issue of how many times government failed them. Your government at so many levels failed you when they've said for years that Well, don't worry about it. Just give up your rights. We'll protect you. We can say that is false. So moving on, the market was up a bit when I first checked in. I believe it opened on the upside. I don't think this is caught up. But on the same topic, they're going to start coming after the money side to break down gun manufacturers, it looks like, and figure out ways to stop production. Essentially, they're going to make it so people can't produce weapons, which is going to stunt the market, but also make everything very valuable that you do have in some respects. So big investment firm people here are going to reach out to companies to understand their response, which is probably to start manufacturing more guns, because people are going to be trying to buy them because everybody knows everybody's going to try to ban them, which is what they're saying. The ban message is so much louder now than it has been in the past. So this investment fund manager, 3.4 trillion, says theoretically could exert some pressure on the index to providers to remove the gun makers from their listing. So basically removing the ability for gun makers to get capital through borrowing and lending to maximize their output. They've heard from investors who don't want their money tied into weapons manufacturers. I think Ruger, Smith & Wesson are all traded on the stock exchanges. Probably a couple of others. I don't think HK is. I don't remember Glock being on there, but they may have went public at some point and I didn't realize it. But squeeze the money squeezes the ability for these large manufacturers to produce weapons of any type, a little less the type that supposedly they're concerned about, the AR-15. But then you got this whole group over here, ban all guns. Who do I really believe? Our USMC vet points out most states allow the manufacture of homemade weapons as long as there is no intent to sell. True. And several states have also said if you don't sell the weapon outside the state, it's perfectly fine with them. I think Montana, maybe Idaho, Missouri, or Kansas say you can produce in the state and sell in the state. I think those were automatic firearms even that they passed and to shun federal law because it didn't cross state lines. It's not covered under interstate commerce. They told the feds to pack sand. Real gun control. Walter says England put in real gun control to fight the IRA, so the IRA strategy is bombing, right? I mean, there's always a technique around any type of issue. I mean, there's always a way around regulations. The market always wins, as I say. Money will find a way to get people what they want. Soup people crack up Irish. You've never eaten at Chipotle, you might not need to be in charge. If you've never eaten at Chipotle, you might not need to be in charge. Why would I want to eat at Chipotle, Irish? I'm not understanding. Oh, it is Kansas, not Missouri. Yeah, Walter. There you go. About selling firearms in state or manufacturing in state, selling in state. But that's going on. Trying to squeeze the money out of it. We're kind of pushing our timeline here. I did have one other thing. Anybody drop any other stories you see in the side chat? Nah, there's this one. This is New York Times. New York Times. States mull red flag gun seizures from people deemed dangerous. Key word here, deemed dangerous. By who? How? That's always going to be the issue. California is the first story they talk about here on top of this. California's been doing this for years. I think they started a program in 2012 or 2013. So here's the example they have here. They took a gun away from a 38-year-old man who had threatened to kill his wife. They removed 3 weapons from a 23-year-old Marines who authorities said had developed a paranoia. And they took a handgun from a 39-year-old man. So they got some anecdotal stories here. They have a whole team set up in California and to do this. And they've talked about it in several articles in the past. But the key is, how is this done? There are already legal ways, and I think every state, for people, the sheriff or anybody else, to go before the court and have your, provide evidence you're a harm to society, or you're a harm to yourself, you're a harm to your family, mentally incompetent, stuff like that. From what I remember from California, it is such a quick process that there's no basically judicial review. It's just at the will and whim of law enforcement usually. Let's read on down here to see if they talk about any of that. So Connecticut passed the first type of law like this in 1999. Yada, yada, yada. Often, well, here's the kicker. Here it says the laws allow weapons to be seized for a brief time, typically 2 to 3 weeks. I know in California, I don't know that anybody's gotten their weapons back, because it talks about you being able to petition for your to get your property back, basically. That doesn't happen quickly in California, if they even allow you to petition to get it back. So it talks about mental health patients, New York and Texas. Yeah, a lot of this stuff's already in place, but it's being abused now, I guess you could say, to the utmost. But usually what they do is they go in, they seize your weapons, and then they'll see you in court. Preemptive seizure. And abusing this is going to be a real problem, because they can flag you for whatever they want. Oh, look, Indiana has a law. So hitting some of you close to home here. Indiana's red flag law is common sense measure that in no way inhibits the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. It's Attorney General of Indiana. So this is your Attorney General out there, Irish. This useful provision is not as well known even among law enforcement as one might expect. This is why this week they're distributing a public safety advisory, raising awareness of the law, urging police and prosecutors to make full use of it and work together to protect all Hoosiers. So it looks like they're going to be pushing for the use more so in places like Indiana that really haven't used it much, just because it's a popular thing to do. This is how they get it in the popular conscious, make it acceptable that it's okay. We'll just take it from whoever the sheriff, whoever the police officers say to, without due process. 9 times out of 10. That's something to be on the lookout for. I know it's been brewing in California for a while. They were using PTSD cases as justification to go into a bunch of people's homes a couple years ago. Yeah, they're gonna. And and it had to be back in 2012 because I was still in, and I was telling people, don't push for PTSD to get your disability because they're gonna use that stuff against you. Don't try to work the system just to get money out of it. They're gonna use it against you in the long run. All right, we're going to wrap it up here, folks. Going back in the side chat. Hitting up on the firearms thing pretty heavy back and forth. Yeah, guilty to proven innocent, right, Irish? Irish points out you have to be 18 to buy a pocket knife, but you can buy a butcher knife at any age, right? Which one's more dangerous? Which one? I mean, which one is potentially more harmful? Doesn't make any sense, right? All right, folks. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining the chat. Sorry for the technical difficulties on the other stream, but I think I pushed the wrong button. But be on the lookout for all this business. Shame those who deserve to be shamed. And if you're out east, stay dry. Oh my goodness. But you all have a good weekend. If we don't see you tomorrow morning for the morning chat, we'll have a full hour in the morning and a little more relaxing. And we will talk at you all later. Live free.